welcome back to the Finding Strength podcast. Here we are. You can introduce our guest because I don't want to screw up your last name because I don't know it. I know your first name's Rob.
Rob can introduce himself. Rob, we've got Rob today here. Rob and I have met through children, and we've crossed paths how many freaking dozens of times, man. We're always running into each other. We saw each other at the water park one time. We just kind of crossed paths, and we know a lot of the same people. So we kind of been acquaintances for a while, and I was like, oh, should get Rob on the podcast because he's got 1% fitness, which is really cool. Hopefully we'll be able to talk about that quite a bit. Anyway, so yeah, man, welcome. Thanks for coming, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell the world, man. Who are you?
Just introduce who you are, where you from.
Hi.
Yeah.
Rob Molling, born and raised in the mountain front of Utah.
Yeah.
The rugged mountain front of Utah.
I love it.
I want to lie. I'm 38 years old.
33
for the fourth time. I'm 41.
Okay, you guys are the same age then. Yeah.
Birthday, when's your birthday?
March 20th.
March, okay. I just turned 41. Mine's June. So we're like 83 babies.
Yep, 83.
It's once you hit that past 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's it like?
It's interesting.
Is it? Oh, I'm nervous.
You sound like a bag of popcorn when you wake up.
Because your whole body pops. That's so funny.
And then when you get to the gym, you've got about a 20-minute stretch routine before you can actually start moving the body.
Do some breathing, walk around, check Instagram, come back out. Just kidding.
It's so hard not to, like, when you're stretching and you're laying down and not pull your phone up, like, stop it.
No, I know. Well, because there's work, right? You got to freaking, because you run your own business.
Yep.
And that's not easy. How long has 1% been around?
Almost 11 years.
Wow, that's cool.
A decade plus.
Yeah.
Well, another fun fact about how our paths are similar and parallel is you guys used to live in Jordan Willows, just like we did.
You didn't.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I did not know this. Yeah. Where at?
You know where the park is?
Yes.
So as you come in, we were just south of the park on the road. One
we
road
literally were.
Yeah.
What?
You guys aren't still there, right?
No, I still own that house. I have a tenant.
You're smart. We wish we would have done that.
Yeah,
it's okay, but he doesn't pay on time. He's a really, really good dude, and I don't like. I love him.
Yes.
Like, I want to keep him around.
Sure,
but it's difficult
like,
when
pay on time, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
well,
we got bills to pay.
That's just how it goes.
It's natural.
That is funny. But now you live by the school, and we live by the school. Interesting. Yeah. That is weird.
The space choice. We initially were off of the north side of 2100, and we got duped. Like, your garage is going to be huge. And I was like, okay. And then sure enough, it's like 3 feet shorter than my Willow's garage.
Oh, no.
And it was a tandem. And the wife was like, you're not going to be happy with that. And so sure enough, we ended up right behind the school. And I love it.
Like, it's a nice area.
It is a nice area. It really is. I love it too. Yeah. So
it's kind of oddly quiet.
Yeah.
For where it's located and situated. Anyways.
Yeah.
Sorry, listeners.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you turn 40.
Let's talk about freaking home.
I'm not there yet, so let's spice things up. Okay.
Well, my favorite thing about 40 is a joke that I stole, right? But I think it's hilarious, right? You bang your knee on the desk and you look down and you go, well, that's going to hurt forever.
I'm not looking forward to that. You guys are not making 40 sound fun.
It's not fun.
But I've heard 40s are the best, though, because, like, you're established, you make money, and, like, life is good. But you're talking about how your body's cracked like popcorn and hit your knee. I'm screwed.
Yin and yang, baby. Good and the bad, dark and the light,
forever.
right? I mean, come on, that's how it works, you know?
That's funny. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. You're so funny.
It's true.
Anyways, we're going to dive in. Is that okay if we dive in?
Delve.
Are we done with the 40-year-old talk?
Nope.
Moving on.
It'll come back up.
It will.
Anyways, Rob, we would love to, like, get to know you. Like, we want to hear your story. So I don't know where you want to begin, but.
So you grew up here, Wasatch Front area. Born and raised. Nice. And
Me
then,
too.
So, yeah, man, just tell us your story, dude. Because I want to hear the recovery story because I don't know that very well. But maybe just like a little brief, like, grew up around here, siblings, parents, and then kind of roll into like the meat and potatoes of why Rob became Rob.
So I lived it. So it's relatively easy to express. However, a good portion of it was intoxicated. So there's like brief splits. And I also like to kind of put it into, there was so much traumatic stuff that my brain has been like, okay, just move
Kind
this
of
off.
compartmentalized stuff. Yeah.
And don't think about it. And so, born and raised in Utah, most of my life was spent up to about 15, 16. I was right behind Norm High. My mom, stepdad, older brother, and little sister, half sister. My mom, after having my little sister, had a hysterectomy and found pain pills, narcotics. So it was relatively interesting. We were low income. One of the stories I tell is riding my 10-speed bike to Smith's, right there on Center Street, with the food stamp card and bags on each side of the bike, balancing. And most of my like young memories of a child was my mom being passed out on a couch and my stepdad being gone at work to support the family.
Yep.
And so you'll oftentimes hear like people, I had to grow up quick. Like I had to become self-sustaining. I had to learn how to do my laundry. And weirdly enough, I had to do a lot of cooking, which transists into what I do now.
Wow.
So it's, and I found a passion behind that in feeding people and nourishing people. And so it's kind of interesting how it rolls into that. So substance abuse, first time I touched a substance, I was about 12 years old. First marijuana. By the time I was 13, almost 13 years old, alcohol, cocaine.
Okay.
One of my early childhood memories was, or I actually made it in the newspaper, and it's not something to be proud of. I wore
Infamous and famous are really similar. Yeah.
same time, and
Good
I had
publicity and bad publicity, both great.
and when your parents are like, "What in the hell?"
Oh no.
So I had a big puffy yellow jacket on. Me and my friends were out after curfew, and they got me screaming green cast on my hand, like neon green cast, and a big yellow jacket. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see
Ponytail.
See from outer space. You can see from outer space.
There was no doubt that they couldn't not find me. And so as I aged, I'd say about 16 is when I moved out with my mom.
Wait, what happened with the paper? So they catch you?
Oh yeah.
Doing
They
what?
caught
what?
just a curfew ticket.
Oh, it's
So
a
they-
curfew ticket, and they put you in the paper for that.
Yeah, it was
Talk
it was-
about Shane's story.
It was Orem.
Or yeah.
Shame.
So
My
back then there wasn't a
goodness.
whole lot of stories.
Yeah.
So
Newsworthy curfew. Got it.
you got the police car in the background.
Oh,
and
yeah.
my
Two
goodness.
juvenile delinquents standing like this, and
That is so funny.
I still have the paper.
I was
I
gonna
bet,
say, I
dude.
hope
I
you
keep
have the
that.
paper.
I do. As I get further in the story, it's kind of funny how that paper came back because after my mom passed away, I found it, and I'll kind of
Yeah.
dive into that.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
It kind of establishes or leans into purpose, which is pretty cool. So, juvenile delinquent, doing stupid shit all the time.
Move out with your mom.
Move out with my mom around 16. The dude that she left my stepdad for, abusive, alcoholic. And so I moved into that environment to protect her, right?
Yeah.
As a kid, I would pack around a He-Man sword, and I was a mama's boy. Like, I loved my mom. And so first time in detention was I was sitting in the front room. I watched him hit my mom and ran up behind him and like field goal punted him. He was watching The Simpsons. Like, there's some memories that I have that are clear as day. And he was sitting in the middle of the floor, and I come like 4-step up and booted him in the back of the head.
At 16.
I was almost 16. I was
Yeah.
15. And later that day, after I left and I came back, he was getting a Sex on the Beach drink. My mom was right behind the fridge. He slams the door on her, and I like that was the final straw. Like, I just unloaded on him and ended up in detention for about a week. Sure enough, in like a lot of abusive situations, the victim will support the victimizer. And so me being a 16-year-old boy, I'm like, okay, like, I stood up for you, and now you're going to, like, to the police say that it was my fault.
Yeah, kind of like choosing him over me. That's brutal as a kid, right? And you're just trying to protect her. Ah, confusing.
It was absolutely. And so that relationship, thankfully, she was able to get out.
Oh,
It didn't
good.
last long, but then the next relationship was a meth addict. And that sent me into, I ended up on meth for about 6 months, caught my first felonies for check fraud. I was given a check by the boyfriend and sent to Baskin Robbins to go and buy some ice cream and collect some money on the end. Well, I did that and caught my first 2 felonies.
Really?
Wow. So you were participating in with your mom and her boyfriend. So like it was like normal to have Rob be a part of this situation that they were in. So that's like normalized for you as a kid. Like how do you know any better that life should be different from that? Because well, if my adults are telling me that it's okay, then it's okay because that's who we trust the most. Damn. That is crazy.
Yeah.
That was the influence.
Yeah, that was your influence. Like how, yeah.
And so as that continued to progress, after that charge, my real father, who hadn't really been present till I was about 16, 17, he stepped in and he's like, all right, I've got to step in, like you're coming to live with me. And him and one half sister and 4 step siblings, I ended up moving in with them in Provo.
How was your relationship with him at the time? Were you excited about this or were you like nervous about this?
Medium. Like I'd had interactions with him, but I'd
Okay.
never ever lived with him
Okay.
or spent a good amount of time.
Okay.
My brother had for short increments, and so it was all right. Like I was skeptic,
Yeah.
but I had no choice. It was
Yeah.
either that or detention.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
yeah, you're like, I ain't going to detention. I would choose the same thing.
comfy bed,
Yeah.
hard bed.
yeah. Schedule with my parent, like my dad. Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
And so like they send you through probation, and weirdly enough, in one of the probation classes, my grandmother, who's probably the most impactful, what would you call it, like influences on my life, she actually did Toastmasters, if you're familiar with that. It's the speaking program where they train you how to speak.
Oh, okay,
I've heard
yeah.
of this. Yes.
So she showed up for one of the classes, and sure enough, her grandson's sitting in the probation class, and I was just,
Hi, Grandma.
hi,
I
Grandma.
go, hi,
Oh.
how are you?
And the beauty is she's probably one of the most compassionate, and there was no, like, you didn't have to earn her love. It was just unconditional.
yeah.
And so we had a great conversation around that, and I eventually made it off probation. And what was it, 17, 18, didn't show up to school. And so my last year I made up 27 credits, ended up at valedictorian of a alternative school.
Oh, wow.
Hooray.
That's crazy.
Dude, that's-
27 credits. That's a lot.
Cranked it out fast,
Yeah.
and ended up getting new charges for possession with intent.
Okay.
When you're young and you kind of learn, hey, if I get this, I'm using it anyways, and if I sell it, entrepreneurial, right?
Yeah.
I can make money. And so that was kind of the beginning of the career of criminal activity. Most, nothing violent, nothing mischievous, just self-inflicted substance and knowing that you could make money off of those things. And so till about 28, in and out of correctional institutions, continual poor choices. And as you go into those places, because most people are just looking for a place to belong or a community, right? Like in church, in military, in gangs, you're just seeking somewhere to belong. And each time I would go, these are like my people. I belong with them. We speak the same language. And so you'd make friends. You'd get out for a short window of time, reoffend, right back in.
Right back to your brotherhood. Yeah. It was
where
your
you belong.
community. Yeah.
Yeah.
And your belief system,
It's your
like
brain, man.
you kept like validating that this is my community. This is my people.
Well, and the brain wants to find like a spot to rest.
Yeah.
It wants this safe haven. And the brain's amazing because it can create that out of literally anything, just for survival's sake. And so where I quote unquote belong, according to my brain, might not actually be a place where I feel belonging, but it's definitely the place where I fit in best. And so now I have this I belong here. And that becomes my paradigm for how I see myself and the world and where I fit. And I do stuff in order to fit that mold.
Yeah.
Sound about right?
Momentum. And it would just keep going.
Yeah.
Going.
So it would like increase.
Like a snowball, yeah.
Yeah.
Every time it would be. And once you get in the system, you're on probation, it's really, really difficult to get out. And by the time I was 23-ish, I had watched 21 plus of my friends pass away, one of which included my older brother.
Ouch.
How old were you when your brother passed?
21. I think he's on I think yesterday was his birthday. So I think we're on 20, he would have been 27 when he passed away. So that's 25.
Overdose?
No, it was definitely drug related. Asphyxiation. Him and one of my really close friends. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Trying to come off of heroin by using meth, staying up, and then parked in a storage shed.
Yeah.
Had it cracked, and they're going to take off out of town and ditch their probation, and didn't make it.
I'm so sorry.
Wow.
But what's wild about like the continual death? Because then eventually, by the time I was 28, it was the first time I had an opportunity to do rehab. In rehab, they tell you, hey, buy a nice pair of funeral clothes, right? Like my nice dress shirt and dress slacks, it was either court clothes or funeral clothes. Like I wasn't going to anything else in those clothes for any other reason.
Whoa.
And so you start to become jaded, right? Because when somebody passes away, God, why? Like, why is this the case, and why does this keep happening to the people I know? But no, to me, it's the crowd. It's the population. A lot of normal people, if you want to call it, if you want to term it that, aren't going through so much death and chaos. On the other hand, I've chosen this lifestyle, and so that's what I'm continuously having happen in my life.
So I'm not normal. And so I kind of stick in this not normal space with these people where I belong because that's what I believe to be me. Yeah. That's powerful stuff, man.
Yeah.
And as I've matured, right, and understood self introspection, right? Like I'm saying, why did this happen? Why did this take? And it's not only till I matured and started actually looking at what the cause is or how to remedy it that things came just barreling into my face where it's like, okay, this is why this happened. And as you start to discover these things, it helps you understand, okay, this is why I behaved in this manner. I didn't know better. And often, if in treatment, when I've been through it, you hear a lot of people are like, why'd you do this? Well, because I was told I wasn't good enough. I was told I wasn't good enough. Even to this day, I don't feel like I'm good enough. But the term good enough, like it puts a limit on something good enough.
Yeah.
Right? At a point, if you become good enough, well, then what else is there? You can't, there's nowhere else to
You can't
grow.
cap that. Yeah.
So, like, I don't, like, as I would hear that, I accepted that for so long. I'm like, oh, I wasn't good enough. This is why this happened. I wasn't good enough. That's why I acted like this. Well, I'll never be good enough. And I'm okay with that now because I don't want to be good enough. I want to be great and I want to continue to get better.
Yeah. It's kind of like recognizing, like, what is my part in this and what can I do differently and continue changing that. And instead of chasing the being good enough, I love that because then you continue to keep on going, striving, changing. Like there's no end to growth. That's really cool. I like that.
Well, and that flip is something that we all try to create in our minds because my self-perception is what creates my view of my existence. And this idea of my perspective of reality, that creates all my subconscious whatever that's going on, right? So in the background of my mind, this thing that is creating how I see all things is running on the software of I'm not enough. And if my software that's running is I'm not enough, that's going to create a whole mess of skewed views about the world around me. and who I should associate with and how I should behave and what I should do and what I shouldn't do.
Creates your belief system.
It is the belief system. Yeah. And here's the first plug I will give to this movie that I'm going to plug for the rest of my life.
Yes.
Quite possibly the best movie on psychology that I have ever seen is Inside Out 2. Mind blowing.
We were surprised.
We saw it yesterday.
We did.
Very, very good. And this, I'm Not Enough, comes up.
It does. It comes up
in a big way.
It's
cool. Really cool.
You'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's really cool. But
especially take your teenagers.
Yeah.
My teenagers got more of a kick out of it than my youngers.
Because it's deep, man. It's not just kiddie movie. It's very adult. It's cool. It's about this coming of age thing, you know, and the development of
our belief system.
Well, so there's this thing, right? And we don't really talk about it, but there's this thing called personality. Okay. And to me, how I see myself, that is my personality, right? And that personality that I believe is me is how I show up in the world. Mm-hmm. And so if a major element of my personality, my belief, is I'm not enough, or I need control, or I'm the bad guy, or I'm an angry person, or I'm not smart enough, or whatever. And what's crazy about these belief systems is you can pick and choose. There's tons of them, right? These negative self-beliefs. But a lot of times they boil down to only like really 5. And these 5 are, I'm not safe. I can't trust, right? I'm powerless. I'm not enough. I'm unworthy of love. Those are kind of the big 5 negative self-beliefs that we look for when doing psychology stuff and trying to help somebody understand like why they're stuck in their patterns. Because if I believe, pick any one of those 5, pick one. Which one did you hear that you identified with the most?
I'm not enough.
I'm not enough, which is probably the most common one. I feel like that's
the most common one.
And some theorists believe that that's the only one. That it's only I'm not enough. Mm-hmm. And that makes a lot of sense. So let's say I believe I'm not enough. Show up to some social function, right? And I've got to interact with the people around me because I need to create relationships. I need to do, whatever. I need to connect somehow.
I think we need to show up a certain way to be enough.
So I believe I'm not enough. What does that look like behaviorally in that particular social situation? What am I going to do? How am I going to behave? What would you do? If I believe I'm not enough, what would you do?
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is people please. Look at other people and be like, okay, what do they need? And start pleasing them so they think I'm enough.
Yep. What would you do? I'm not enough. How would you show up into social function?
I would hide in a corner. I would isolate.
Isolate. Okay.
Yep. Me, I would try to be super funny and get a lot of attention and do kind of like a bravado thing of like I'm look how good I am to try and compensate, right? And so that instantaneously we just found out something very integral about our subconscious behaviors: people pleasing, narcissism, insecurity and narcissism, right, and avoidance and isolation. And you can kind of look back at your life and go like, oh shit, I do that all the freaking time. That's maybe I don't do that. Maybe that's not me doing that. That's this part of me who thinks that I need to do that in order to compensate for this belief that I'm not enough. And it's unbelievably simple when you break it down like that, but the complexities of that simplicity are never ending.
They're
right?
so complex.
But it's still like you can very quickly identify human beings. It's really easy to identify the stuff that I do over and over and over, my patterns that are fucking up my life, right? It's really easy to find those, but being honest with myself about how that affects my life, that's the challenge. Because my brain, and this is the Inside Out 2 does this really well. My brain, my mind believes that thing that I do, people please, be the funny guy, isolate, avoid, that is protective. And if I don't do it, something bad will happen. So now I have to wrestle with the idea of, okay, I'm going to not do this thing that protects me. What could happen? Yeah. How bad could this get? How bad am I willing to allow it to get in order to experiment with what maybe could be better? And that's a very difficult question to wrestle with because most people don't want to change. Most people want to do the same thing over and over because it's safe.
Yep.
But really, is that you want to do that, or that just the programming? Is that just the way that the subconscious brain kind of works?
Yeah.
Interesting to think about it like that,
That is
right?
interesting.
Homeostasis and safe.
Homeostasis, safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so as you how many different things does that create? Like, so inside out, you now have anxiety, you
Sure.
now have fear, you now have, and the list
All
goes
the
on,
other- yep.
all of the side effects from that. And when I go to events, I know that that's my mode, right?
Right.
When I was younger, it's like, okay, substance.
Yeah.
It's going to make you, it's
Yep.
going
Yeah.
to make you tick.
Yeah.
Now it's like I go to an event and I specifically, I'm okay, this is outside of your, because as you start to get older, your network is your children.
Right.
Unless you
Right.
specifically have events. And that's why I like the group that I'm in, is because like it's community.
Yep.
And they call it, like, we have tons of phone calls, mastermind sessions, and it's to get outside the comfort zone. Even though I feel confident within myself and what I've accomplished in my life, I still don't feel like I belong. And that's a personal thing.
There you go.
And so showing up and just being like, okay, I commit to, I'm going to meet 5 new people inside of this experience. And I still have to challenge myself.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say a checklist, but I say, okay, these are the 5 things you're going to have to do. And you can't isolate and go hide off in a corner or just find one person to be the only person to associate with.
Discipline. That's all that is.
Discipline, yeah. Well,
It's disciplined action with a deliberate aim. Super simple. But that ability to be disciplined is something that I have to believe that I have in order for me to be able to do that. Because I have to step out of my comfort zone to do those 5 things, to push myself into this very uncomfortable situation that I don't want to do. That sucks. Physiologically, that is painful. And so everything in my body is going to be telling me, don't do this. It's going to hurt. You're going to fail. You don't belong. You're not good enough. And the mind is racing with all these stories. So what disciplined action with deliberate aim is focusing intentionally on the wants of the heart rather than the wants of the mind, which is why we do what we do, right? And that's, so I got to do these 5 things. Well, that's not what my head wants me to do. And my body is like freaking the hell out. Maybe there's something bigger. You know what? I got my boy there. He's going to be watching me. Instantaneously easier. Because now it's like, okay, my heart's going to drive this thing. And that simple little shift into a heart-led space, or, you know, what we call, you know, we is greater than me, or there's all these different ideas you can have about this thing that we do in life, where we have to step into this vulnerable space of potential failure.
Well, and to add to that, I would say putting ourselves in these positions helps us grow, and it helps change the story of like embarrassment and fear, and like it when we do those hard things, it's like, oh wait, yeah, we can do this. Doesn't mean it gets rid of it. Like it still comes up. Like even when I come and do these podcasts, I still get like not as nervous as I used to, but I definitely still get, you know, like the feels in the stomach, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Okay, I think I can do this. But those voices get quieter. They're not as strong as they used to be, because they're like, no, yeah, actually we can do this. It's okay.
Sure.
Let's keep on going. Let's keep doing the hard thing, because that's where we grow.
Sure.
So,
I love that.
yeah.
Well, and I'm sure that's what you've had to do too, right? Like you had to you're in this environment, believing these things about not being enough. And then you make this transition into, well, maybe I am enough, and I'm going to try and take some risks. I mean, what's the journey from where we're at now in the story of, you know, dealing with the law and all these negative consequences? How do we get from there to 1% fitness? Because that's really right. I mean, that's what you do now. That's your legacy is this amazing company that you've created, and your children and your environment and things like that. But
that's the identity.
Yeah.
When you're in that world, you continue to perform to that expectation.
Yeah.
And so there's a dynamic shift where I think around the time I was 28, it was, you are, well, it started when I was 18, 19, when I started making up those credits, where it's like, okay, here's the doubters, here's the people. You've given them this image of who you are, and you've lived up to that legend. Let's kind of step back and prove them wrong. So that concept of now I have something to prove. It kind of kicked in and took place. However, still doing the same dumb shit, right?
Right.
Fast forward to about 28, I have something to prove because I continued to prove these people right. 28, when I had my first child, or not my first child, but when I had my child, it finally kicked in. I had children before then, and it hadn't hit home. And around 28 is when it's like, okay, you're living for somebody else. Quit being selfish. Like, show them a good example. And so that's the mode I started playing in, or the field I started playing in. However, not perfection, right? I had to struggle a couple of more times to figure it out. And with each challenge or each struggle, there's something else that I needed to learn or discover. And I did. Unfortunately, when I was born, it wasn't, oh, you're going to be an easy learner. Like, everything's going to come to you easy. I've got to get my ass kicked, like, till I'm like dragging myself on the floor bloody to finally get it. But when I get it, boy, do I get it.
That's cool. That's cool, though. Yeah, it sticks. Yeah.
Yes. And so that kind of transited into like the life that I have now. Being able to be an influence, being able to contribute to other people's lives, to be supportive, to guide children in the right direction. Because let's rewind all the way back to that newspaper.
Yeah.
When my mom passed away,
how old were you?
Almost 4 years ago.
4 years ago. 4 years ago.
Right before COVID. So COVID was 2020.
I mean, end of 2019, but mainly 2020. Yeah.
So 2019, my mom passed away, all related to substance. Beautifully, she had about 4 to 6 months sober prior to her passing. And the nurse had called me. She's like, hey, I just want to let you know that your mom was doing really well, which was comforting to me. And like, so I April, because each time there's a death, because there's been so many, I usually don't show up to funerals or don't process it. I still haven't fully processed my mom's passing, and I let it hit me in April of 2020. I got a DUI. I started day drinking, and caught a DUI. And the fear of God it came upon me, because never in my life have I had so much to lose. Relationships, presence with my children, time. And when I was younger, time really didn't matter, because it's like, okay, I have plenty, it's extended. And so I really didn't care. And this time it was very apparent to me. It's like, hey, you need to make a change, because if you keep doing this is what your life's going to look like. And I kind of reflected based on my mom's and her experiences and her continual substance abuse. And it's just like, okay, you're going to end up dying early, and you're going to be leaving because my mom, my youngest child, my mom never met, because she passed right before that. But my 8-year-old, I think she met him twice. And so as I reflect for myself, I'm like, okay, I have children. I want to be present, or I want to be there for them the way that my parents weren't. And so it's that compensation thing of whatever they didn't. And there's two directions as it can go. You can either be exactly like them, or you can be polar opposite. And so I followed the path until 28-ish, and then was like, you know what?
I want to break the chain.
Not what I want.
Yeah, you want to break the chain. You're like, someone's got to break this cycle.
What's funny is my wife does breath work. She's trauma healing, all that, and the generational trauma, and the studies that they've done. And so this is my opportunity to break that. And so that's one of the motivating factors.
There's a word for that in the biz. We call it a transitional character. You ever heard that term before?
No, I've heard it. Bloodline breakers.
Bloodline breaker.
Yeah.
That transitional character thing is this, and it's really kind of a technical way to say it, but you can see how that person, the chain breaker, the bloodline breaker, can be so valuable, so important for how many thousands and thousands of people to follow. Because, we, as much as we want to believe we have this big view of things and we understand like nothing. man. Our existence is so finite. Like we are just this little tiny minuscule blip on a radar. But also it's also everything, right? Like this everything and nothing at the same time thing is kind of a trip. But when you get older, sorry, we're going to talk about getting older again.
40.
You guys said it would come right back.
When you get older, man, like your for me, I'll speak from personal experience. My relationship to death has changed big time. My relationship to time has changed because really the way that I kind of see it is there's very few things that are actually finite resources. And time is probably the one that's at the top of the list. There's only so much. And eventually that will end. And death teaches you that. And you watch somebody close to you pass and you go through this grieving thing. And as you get to the point of grief where you start to accept grief into your life, the lesson of grief is always the same. Hey man, get your ass in gear. There's not a lot of time. What are you going to do? Mm-hmm. What mark are you going to make on the world with your limited amount of time? That didn't occur to me until, really in the last 10 years, but really the last 5 especially. There's just something about it. It just kind of clicked. And it was just like, oh, I don't have a ton of time. But when you're younger, you think you got all the time in the world.
You do, yeah.
It doesn't even register.
You're invincible too.
Well, and
Nothing
I think
bad's gonna happen.
as I work with a lot of, because I work with a lot of guys who are, I don't know, are wrestling with aging, we should say. Mm. Right? We get to this point where you're in your 30s. Yeah, you're like, okay, what's this aging thing? It hurts now. And people I know are dying. Like, what is going on here? And then all of a sudden this question's like, what does it all mean? It just happens. It kind of surfaces naturally. I didn't one day sit down and go like, I should probably think about the meaning of life. Like it just started popping up in my brain over and over and over. And as I sat down to think about it, I was just like, man, what is the whole point of this whole freaking little tiny experience that I'm going to get? It's got to be love. It's got to be connection. It's got to be contribution. What am I doing to create love for the world around me? What am I doing to build deep connections with the people that matter to me most? Maybe that's how I should be spending my time.
Well, I feel like we've figured that out by trial and error, right? Like
Definitely.
we've noticed that when we contribute to the we feel better.
Yeah.
And we're like, wait, what is that? Okay, let's explore that more. Let's do more that contributes to other people.
It's almost like there's energy there.
Yeah.
And
you want to consume it.
Well,
you want to be a part of it.
The other finite resource is energy, if you think about it. There's not a limitless amount of energy. I only have so much energy to get me through the day. So I now need to be spending my time, the other limitless thing, their limited thing. I need to now be spending my time on things and doing things that create energy rather than just take it from me. Mm-hmm. And so you exercise a little more, you eat a little healthier, you spend time with people that give back to you rather than just freaking suck your time all the time. You know.
Yeah.
You know the suckers. You know those people. Those are the people you were chilling with back in the day when you're getting in trouble. Those are my homies too, right? We're out being hoodlums.
I think we all have that experience, and hopefully we have the experience to figure out, the crossroad. What way am I going to go? I think that's why it's so hard to reach teenagers.
They know it all.
They know everything. Absolutely everything. And then they turn 40 and they're like, oh shit, we know nothing. Oh man. It's hard.
40 again.
Yeah.
Keeps coming back.
Keeps on coming back. Oh my gosh. So yeah.
Awesome. So how does it come? So you mentioned before that you had this love for cooking, which another fun tip. Me too, man. I love cooking.
Oh, wait. Sorry. Before we get to that, what about the newspaper again with your mom passing away? Yes. Oh.
So that
sorry. Yeah.
No,
it kind of comes into purpose. So when older folks pass away, Like my grandfather who lived with my mom, you start to accumulate their stuff.
Yes.
My brother's passed away, so now I'm the oldest. My little sister really has no care for those types of things. So I have boxes of things that don't belong to me that hang out in the storage closet. And as I'm going through it, I find the newspaper. And after she passed, I'm like, okay, I know what my purpose is because I've been in my purpose feeding people, helping them change their lives and helping them change the lives of their families, right? And so I knew that was like my purpose in the world of business. Well, I find the paper, and one of the other things that I really wanted to do is work with children to give them an alternative to street activities by sports. I really love sports, but we never had the financial capacity to pay for sports. And so I found the newspaper, and what I inevitably want to do with this is I want to establish 1% Fitness enough to where it can be autonomous. And then I want to step away and have a nonprofit organization that pays or contributes for youth to play sports together.
That.
However, it's not just here, you can play sports together. It's engaged and it's a community, kind of like your young Big Brothers, Big Sister programs back in the day.
Yeah.
But in order to earn their spot on the team or scholarship, they actually have to go out and participate in community service activities together to earn their spot, right? So giving back to the community as a method for them to pay to get to their spot.
Yeah.
And so as I was going through my mom's belongings, I found that and I'm like, okay, retrospect, like what is my purpose? What am I doing? Because I start having those death thoughts. And so it was, okay, confirmation. Because I always had thought that that's what I wanted to do. But when I saw that, I'm like, okay, if I can prevent one child from going through the same shit that I went through, right? To some extent, I regret it, but I don't.
Yeah.
Because I like who I am. I like the position I'm in. However, I don't like the sacrificing time, experiences, and all of that in order to have to learn it. But naturally, those things come hand in hand. So I had to experience it.
Yeah. Well, so you could help other people, help change other people's lives so they don't have to experience it. You experienced it for them. That's
What a
cool.
cool idea.
Yeah, I love that. That's a beautiful idea. It gave me chills.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's really cool.
Isn't that what we want our kids to get to? The idea that when you give, you get something. And it's not about the getting something, it's about the giving. And when you stop caring about the getting something and just do giving, you get way more than you could have ever imagined. That's a really backwards, almost paradoxical concept that doesn't really register for people a lot because we're so interested in just, I call it the dynamic. It's almost like this: the paradox of creation versus consumption, and you have to balance the two. And this idea is all about creating something rather than just consuming something.
Yeah.
I love that.
I do. I love it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after you get your DUI in 2020 and then you find this paper, like where do you go from there? And what are you doing?
So nothing shifted. I'm still working on 1%.
Okay.
Once that establishes and is capable of running on its own, then I'll kind of be able to step away and then start focusing on the other things. With my kids, I've been able to contribute or coach their teams.
That's
However, I think it was like 2.5 years ago, I had coached for 3 seasons. I put in my application to Lehigh City. They say no-go because of the criminal history that they had changed something. I was like, okay,
Yep.
I'm involved. I
Yep.
contribute. I want to teach them good core things. And because of mistakes I made in the past, now I can't help them. And they were struggling to find parents to come out and coach.
They
I'm like,
do. Yep. You're like, I'm here.
I want to do it. Let me
Yeah.
do it. And I think that was a ding to my personal value. So I'm like, okay, hold on. And I had to my wife was like, what's wrong with you? And I was internalizing it. And I'm like, okay, I've been judged my whole entire life because of my past. And I want to move past that. However, it keeps coming back
up.
in my face. And so I have to, okay, somebody else's opinion, that doesn't mean that's who you are. Continue to show them, continue to prove to them that they're wrong. And so that's what I do.
Oh, that's hard too. right? To have other people be like, "Yep, nope, you can't do this," and you're like, "Wait, what?"
Well,
Oh,
the sucky part is I had to explain to my son, hey, because of choices I made in my, previously in my
mm-hmm.
life, I can't coach you, because he was jazzed. He's like, my dad's going to coach me again. Like, I love it when my dad coaches me because it's a good time to bond.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
like,
yeah.
for me, because my original, like my end game purpose is like, I want to be able to contribute to the kids, that insult to injury pushed me even harder. So when I do start the organization, like, again, I will prove somebody wrong where it's like, hey, Lehigh City, you said no go. Well, now I'm going to take it a step above your head, and you can't do anything and prevent me from doing this, and I will show my impact through that.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's pretty innovative, man.
That is very,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
Let's
it,
go.
dude.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
let's go.
Well, and isn't that, I mean, that's kind of what we're constantly as entrepreneurs, man. Isn't that the whole name of the game is innovate,
Innovate, adapt.
Adapt. Yeah.
change?
Yep.
Because you're met with how many freaking obstacles that just are completely unexpected all the
It's
time.
like it's multi-daily. If there's a day when I don't have an obstacle, I'm like, what
Right.
the
Wait,
hell?
what's wrong?
going on?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Am I on
Tomorrow's gonna be
vacation?
horrible. It's gonna be so much worse.
So it's all going to hit me all tomorrow.
Yeah.
More than one thing. So tell us about 1%. For those who don't know what 1% is, tell us what it is. 1% Fitness Kitchen, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So we do meal preparation, and we help people have transformations. It's really cool. Started in 2013, and it was accidental. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Let's hear
Tell
that
us this
story.
story. Yeah.
So post rehab, I went into a transitional housing. I spent 18 months there, and I didn't have to. I enjoyed the environment. I enjoyed the community, and this is where I started going back through college again.
Oh, cool.
Fitness technician in nutrition. And when I went back for employment, it was really hard to find anybody to hire me. And so I ended up at Supersonic Car Wash, working as their ticket rider, and then going to school.
Supersonic Car Wash.
Oh, it was
That's old school, man.
I was a top salesman. I was just
Yes.
like, need a detail? Need a detail?
You're
I
like,
got you. I got you. And I enjoyed it because I got to interact with people. I love, like, my wife always tells me, she's like, you talk to too many people. I'm like, that's how you learn. That's the experience.
I love that, yeah.
And so one of my, as I'm going through school, I get my personal training certifications. And one of my clients that I was training actually saw me getting my hair cut in my barber's chair. And I was frugal, doing one time a week production for myself, just streamline time, streamline production, stay in line with my goals. And my first client, Arthur, who was also in recovery,
Awesome.
killer success story. Like, he was crushing it. And so two other dudes, one of which runs FTR, Richie, him and Dane jumped on it and did it. And they had great success. And so mothers, sisters, cousins started jumping on. I started, by the time I left my house in Sugar House, I was prepping for 30 people a week.
Wow.
And like very limited space. And so I ended up renting a kitchen in Sandy. I ended up buying that same kitchen in 2016. And I just loved seeing the transformations.
Yeah.
And Josh Craig, he's probably one of my favorite out of all times. He now runs the Haven, is the director of operations.
Okay.
He had 100 pounds in 6 months.
Dang, man,
And
that's wild.
That's cool.
and what's cool is he attributes like keeping his sobriety to his self-confidence, self-worth, and he did that through weight loss. Like, he didn't go to the gym and hit 4 days. Like, he would he would walk and do other things, but the main thing he
It's his
controlled,
nutrition.
And so
It really matters what we put in our mouths. Like, it really is
are what
such a
we eat.
big deal. We really
yeah.
are. Well, and it adds to like depression and anxiety and like inflammation of our bodies. Like, what we eat really, really matters, especially today. Like, it's terrible. It's
seed
sad.
oils,
Yeah.
dyes that are made out of petroleum.
And most people don't really even know
No,
that
they
that's
don't.
what they're consuming.
No.
Because you just buy what's available. And what's
Convenience.
available to us right now is
Garbage.
Shit.
It's
horrible.
It really is.
It's toxic. Especially like all this seed oil stuff that's in literally everything. And all these like byproducts of freaking a bunch of weird, crazy chemicals that they're just like seeping into Doritos because they did some test once upon a time somewhere with some group of people, and they found that if they had this little tiny chemical in there, they'd eat like 20% more, and so now it's in fucking everything. It's crazy.
It's disgusting.
It's crazy what goes on.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's cool about your company is like you get that.
Yes.
And you kind of like skip over some of the education that an individual might have to do in order to understand what it is they need to put in their face. And you're just like, hey, just put this in your face.
I know.
If you eat this, it will work. And then I have found that as people do that, and I would be interested to see if you find the same thing, people begin to want to learn about what it is that they need to do in the future. They just start with it, and then they educate themselves along the way because they're like, oh, I do feel better. Yeah. Wow, I don't have to eat all this garbage. I can eat this really healthy stuff and still feel amazing. And I'm not craving food all the time. That's weird. Which is like the craziest byproduct of this thing, right? Like people are all the time just craving, just like, I need another fix. But they don't realize they need more of the chemicals that are in the food. You're not really craving food. You want that dopamine hit that chemical gives you. Yeah. It's wild stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
And that's on one of my first business cards. It says disrupting the fast food industry by making convenient food. The reality is what is the best diet? The answer to that is the one that somebody will follow or will actually use. Because you can write this whole big plan, and if they don't follow it, it's pointless. It's useless. True. And so we've dumbed it down. We've made it super simple where it's, hey, what is, and we go into different levels of depth where we'll come in and we'll have them do like nutritional consultations, do an in-body scan, take the information off their smartwatch, preferably a heart rate monitor, to understand where they're truly at.
Cool.
Right. And a lot of people, they'll go on the scale and be like, I don't like what I see. And then they go back down that same path. It takes, and what I've learned is you got to educate them. Because it's the last thing that somebody wants to do unless they're a doctor, their significant other, or something happens that pushes them towards like, oh shit, I'm going to die. I'm going to lose my spouse, and I'm being a bad example or influence for my children.
It's that motivation piece that's the key. Okay.
A lot of people don't change for themselves. It's very few. And so if we can support them through that process and give them guidance and give them structure, right? Because what's the last thing we think about? Something that's going to take our time.
Yeah.
If it's just there, and as you mentioned, they absolutely become more curious because they start to see those small changes, and then a huge change. And they become curious where it's like, okay, well, why does this work? Why is this happening? And like, I love it when one of my clients come in, they're like throwing knowledge at me, and I'm just like, yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. You
got the
get
fire.
it. Yeah, it clicks.
And so you'll see those transformations. Like my favorite thing is watching. We had Mike Braun. He's a rugby coach, and he's done 2 of our challenges, and had a significant transformation. And he went back the next year to the rugby coaching, and people are like, "Who the hell is that? Who's our new coach? Who's our new coach?"
No way.
But what's cool is like his kids started coming in and scanning and getting more information. And the group that I'm in, like, we did a challenge internally through there, and husband came in. Next week, wife came in. 2 weeks later, daughter came in. And now they're engaging and having conversations around health, wellness, and what they're doing at the dinner table and in other like parts of their lives. And I'm like, okay, we've sparked something. This is what the intention is. That's how you're going to make a bigger impact, is by getting all, like, this is another 40 Voltron, right?
Voltron.
Yes. Get all of them to combine.
Yeah.
When you get all of them combined, you have this beast. And
Power Rangers would also work, right? Megazord, same concept for those of you from the 90s.
I know. I was like, what are you guys talking about? You must be really old.
Megazord? Yep, we got it. Okay.
And so as you get them to come together, that's when you have a bigger and deeper impact. And it's not just a one-level impact. It's now this young gal's kids, if she continues to live that life, her kids are going to be impacted. And it's just...
I love
Transitional characters all over the place, man. Bloodline breakers. I love it.
Well, and creating this for the we. Like that's what I love about it. Like it's spreading it into these families and becoming topics and not just like, coming and getting the meal and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna eat this, it's gonna change my life, but like actually really learning about it and having conversations about it. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So I'm curious, because we don't use 1%, so we're going to be first time learners. With
I
all
know,
the
I'm
listeners.
excited. Yeah.
So how does it work? How's the program? How do you start?
Like if we came in,
what are the basics?
Simple. So there's 2 levels. If you want like the nutritional coaching and the guidance, you book an appointment, come in and scan. We take the information from watch, machine, goals, lifestyle, combine it, and then put together a plan. From that plan, you come in and check in every 3 weeks. That service is complimentary as long as you're getting food.
Okay.
Right. 5 years ago, we bought an in-body scanner because I had people coming in and be like, "Oh, I don't see the scale changing, but I know I feel it. More muscles, more dense than fat. And if you're working out, you're going to see the scale go up, body fat percentage go down." So we bought the machine, and I was like, "Okay, well, I've got a really expensive device sitting in my kitchen. I might as well use it. I want the proof." Bill Cosby, proof is in the pudding. That's probably a bad reference. But
That's okay. That's okay.
it's not too soon yet.
What was in Bill Cosby's pudding? I wonder. Anyways, unfortunately, smart people get a bad rap because they use their smarts for evil doings. So, hey, you know what?
It's true.
But the proof is in the pudding. You're right,
Yeah,
man.
it is.
It's true.
No, you won't fall asleep at the kitchen. And so we wanted to show them what they're doing is working. And so they'll come in, they'll scan. Or you can take it completely on your own and just get the food and do your own thing. I'd probably say 80% of our customers use it just as an alternative to fast food and for convenience.
Oh, that's smart.
If you're, if you perform and you know that your time is better spent, you push away all needs to select, right? The biggest selection is, okay, I have 14, 7 or 10. Which one do I want to eat today? You don't have to drive anywhere. You don't have to take time away from what you're doing. My favorite is you can spend your time doing the things that you want to do. You don't have to grocery shop unless you have a family, of course, right? So then you can provide for them. So a lot of our clients will use it just for lunch and then eat dinner together as a family. But the beauty is they learn about portion control by fire. By going through the experience, they say, okay, this is what I should be eating versus,
That's so cool.
That is so cool. I love that.
So what's the pricing on stuff like this? If I remember right, it's quite affordable.
Yeah.
So it ranges anywhere from $12.58 a mil up to $16 a mil.
Okay.
We launched national shipping about 2 years ago, and shipping costs are terrible.
Yeah.
And so
now they do. Yeah. It
with the
sucks.
gas, pre-COVID, it was a little bit better, but you're usually about $30 to $40 for a shipment. But because we have to do it next day air, next day ground,
and keep it cold.
has to get there quick.
Yeah.
And so that's when you get up to the $16 to $17 per mil is when you add in shipping and buy like 7 mils. If you subscribe, you can save naturally. If you subscribe, you can save 10%.
Yep.
But it's just, my favorite is when somebody challenges me like, no, that's really expensive. Because you're spending the, $150 or $160 all at once, it seems expensive. But if you take out your phone and look at your financial app and see restaurants and food and service, you look and you're like, okay, speaking of like preservatives and fun stuff. So your Chick-fil-A, they went away from no hormone and no antibiotic ever chicken, NAE. They shifted to hormone that is safe for human consumption.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Yep.
Who determines what hormone's safe for human consumption?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And is that guy on the take? That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
Because he probably is. Yeah. He's invested in
Hey, but he closes on Sunday for God, though, okay? He's a good guy.
Well, I heard about this with Chick-fil-A recently because they made this transition not very long ago.
March 25th.
Yeah, this year. Yeah, this
so
just
their
happened.
profitability just skyrocketed, but they're now dumping toxins into
your chicken. They are
just-
don't
Well,
eat at Chick-fil-A.
Well, and the other big ones, McDonald's, man, their prices have skyrocketed. 600% on some freaking products. That's crazy. So everybody's complaining about paying $8 to $12 a meal or whatever, but that's what you pay when you
Well,
go out for
already,
fast
yeah,
food.
yep.
That's the cost. So yeah, and you get okay.
Yeah.
So I did
I like it, Rob. I like it. I'm intrigued.
Sold.
I think I want to. I
Yeah.
really do. Yeah.
So I did that comparison was for Chick-fil-A. I did how much it is if you go in for a combo meal, right? And their chicken sandwich alone, 44 ingredients in it.
Holy
and that list of
crap.
toxins that are addictive are in it.
Yep.
Their pickles have yellow 5 and blue 1 for a pickle. So
Why?
don't know.
That is so interesting.
So that it looks greener and more appetizing.
Well,
bizarre, man.
When you eat first with your eyes.
Yeah.
So that's when we
Makes sense why you have
when we
dyes.
vacuum seal ours. That's the beauty, is it keeps it
super
fixed in color,
yeah.
and oxygen isn't getting into it. Now, the thing I did is I did a price if you go in and buy a combo meal, a price if you buy it on DoorDash, and then compare it against our prices. DoorDash without tip. If you go into it and buy the combo meal, $17. If you buy it on DoorDash, $25. I'm like, okay, people are balking at spending like $12.58 is our lowest cost meal.
Yeah.
Okay, you're balking at a $12.58 meal that is nutritious, is clean ingredients. Like if you look at our label, you can pronounce everything that's in there.
And it's local. And this is the thing that I harp on this regularly because I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist. That's an understatement.
It's good though.
Yeah.
You buy from these products, you are making billionaires richer. I mean,
Yeah.
let's be honest. These giant corporations are owned by like 5 mega corporations, and they own everything. And when we actually go back to our roots and buy from our friends and buy local and help each other out,
Support each
like
other, yeah.
that's the answer to this financial crisis. But people want to save 50 damn cents. It's crazy. At what? But really, at what cost?
Yeah.
And I think there's value in being supportive of one another and buying local, man. Like there's I don't know. Anyways, maybe that's weird talk in this day and age. I don't think it is.
No.
Because it cost is not everything. It's just not. And when I can help somebody out, it doesn't matter to me, I don't know. But people can have their own opinions, but
Well, I think there's a separation between conspiracy theorist and informed, right?
Yeah.
If you just
Yes.
backburner it and you're like, okay, well, somebody else will take care of it.
Yeah.
It's going to make the problem worse. So I think being knowledgeable about it and, okay, how do I impact this? How do I affect this? And just when you can, make those logical decisions to do the things that support that community.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I do.
BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, look it up.
Just educate yourself.
I'm not joking.
Yeah.
Go type in BlackRock right now. Pause this. Go type in BlackRock, and you will learn more than you ever wanted to learn about mega corporations. And they literally own like all of Apple. They own all of like most of Google. They own a bunch of Amazon. It's absolutely mind blowing, and they're all a part of the same. It's the same groups of people that really own it. It's just the rabbit hole is very deep, folks.
It is.
It's very deep. It really is. If we really want to get conspiracy theories, we can start talking about the Anunnaki but we don't need to do that.
No,
we don't need to do that.
Not today.
We'll get
today.
blocked.
We'll
Yeah.
get
That's funny. So where can people find 1%? Like, are you on social media? I mean, I know you are because I follow you, but like, do you want to put that out there?
Yeah.
Like,
So
what's your handle?
yes, 1% Fitness, Instagram. That's like our main platform.
Is that all just spelled out?
Yep.
One.
Numeric 1.
Numeric
and then
1.
Percent fitness spelled out. That'll get you there. That's also where you can book the consultations.
Okay.
Like even if somebody doesn't buy from me, I want to help them. Right. Well, there was a dynamic shift. We used to send out a lot of paid ads through email, and my open rate was trash. There was a shift where it's like, okay, I need to inform people and teach them, teach, lead them. And if they make the choice to buy me or somebody else, it doesn't matter. I want to teach them so they can make that choice.
Yeah.
And so 55% open rate. Don't
great.
get a ton of sales off of it, but feel good inside because it is getting people, leading them to the well.
They're learning. Yeah. And that's, I think, like one of the most important things. Like, wake up, people. Like, do your own homework and research, and don't just like go and buy something and think that it's good for you. Like,
well, an entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur, hopefully you understand the concept of value.
yeah.
Because you're in the end, as an entrepreneur, you want to give value. And the more valuable you are and your product is and your company is, the more resonance you have with people. And so I love this. That's been my principle from day one. I mean, Brittany knows the whole reason I want to start the podcast: education, free service. I want to give people information so that they can gain awareness, and that awareness can change behavior. And the reason we change our behavior is so we can connect better with each other. Those are the 1, 2, 3. And I think that what you're doing, man, is exemplary, and I really hope that it keeps going, and then you get some clients from this. You may have 2. I am very interested.
Yeah,
that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, too. I wanted to learn more about it.
And the kids. I was thinking about the kids.
Just
That'd be
freaking lunch,
great.
man.
Yeah,
Every day I'm like, what do I eat for lunch? Now I just go to the fridge, be like,
1%. Boom,
Dijon
done. I know.
chicken.
I'm
Boom.
serious.
I know he gave us some meals today. I'm excited to try them out. We'll definitely.
Yeah, we'll let you know how we like them on the next podcast.
I always lead with food. That's like my forte. I'm like,
here you go.
You can earn, like,
It's so comforting.
Yeah, and you can earn your way. Like, you can earn your way to somebody's heart through their stomach.
Heck yes, you can.
So that grandma that I was talking about at the beginning, when you'd go into her house, it was like, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? And she like,
that's my mom.
And there was like and I can recollect this perfectly. Like, she grew mint in her garden, and she would always make a mint, like sun-bathed tea, right, where she'd sit out there.
Oh.
And like, I can still remember that. And so like that transition where it's like, hey, I want to feed you, I want to nourish you. We do a lot of like around Thanksgiving time and Christmas, we do a lot of community-based things where we're bringing out to homeless people, cool. Or less fortunate rehabs. Like, I work with a lot of rehabs still, supporting their people. Because when I was heavy in my addiction, Cocoa Krispies and drugs were my staples of my diet.
Cocoa Krispies.
Oh, Cocoa
Out of
Krispies.
all the cereals, Cocoa Krispies?
Yeah, you can't let them get soggy, though.
No, that's what I'm saying. They get soggy. You got to eat them real fast.
Well, so most people put...
the milk to cereal ratio you got to...
Yes.
You got to get it just right.
Oh, my God.
And you got to keep adding cereal.
Yes. So you got to put the milk in first and then the cereal. You can't go cereal then milk because then it gets soggy.
I just learned something new today.
And you only put a small amount in, enough to...
And then you put more in. I love it. So good.
Secrets of the pros, people.
Cereal.
There's one thing I love about the addiction community is the amount of creativity around simple things. It's just innate within us, right? Like funny. I can make a freaking bong out of anything in this room right now. You give me 20 minutes, dude, it's on, man. I'm freaking MacGyver when it comes to getting stoned, you know, like that. But it's true. That's how it works in recovery community.
So funny. Oh my God.
Anyways, Rob, we can't thank you enough for coming on here, bro. Really, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hope to maybe have you on again in the future, work together, do something in the future.
Yeah,
got a couple ideas.
This is great. Yeah.
We'll see where this goes. I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. Finding Strength podcast is sponsored by Avantacool.
Avantacool.
Avantacool. It's a fun word to say.
It is a fun word to say. What is Avantacool, Matt?
Avantacool sells cold plunges. Avantacool sells infrared saunas. Check out Avantacool at avantacool.com. If you use the code STRENGTH24, you will get a discount of 25% off any Avantacool products. How amazing is that?
That's a good discount. It really is.
Do you like our cold plunge?
I love it.
It's nice, huh?
It is really nice.
It's great.
Stays clean.
Stays clean.
Perfect. Whatever temperature I want it to be at, I can set that, and it's great.
Yep. We love it.
Go check them out.
Every penny. Check them out. Avantacool.com.